The ship was falling fast. Jared held the controls tightly, trying to stop the fire. Alarms screamed around him, and smoke filled the cockpit. He had no choice. The ship was going to crash. Through the window he saw trees, mountains, and strange blue clouds. This isn't Earth, he said to himself. Where am I? The ship hit the ground with a loud bang. Metal bent, glass broke, and everything went black. When Jared opened his eyes, he was lying on the ground outside the ship. His arm hurt, his head was bleeding, but he was alive. He stood up slowly and looked. Around the air was thick. The sky had two suns, and the trees were glowing. Suddenly, he heard something, a scream. He turned and saw a small escape pod burning nearby. Someone was inside, trying to get out. Then he saw a tall creature, dark and thin, pulling a girl out of the pod. The girl had silver hair and glowing skin. Jared grabbed his emergency blaster and ran. "Hey!" he shouted, pointing the weapon. The creature hissed, dropped the girl, and ran into the forest. Jared rushed to the girl and picked her up. She was not human, but she looked close enough. She had a soft face, her eyes were closed, and her body was cold. Jared carried her away from the fire and laid her on the grass. "I hope you're okay," he whispered. Minutes later, more figures appeared from the forest. They had armor, sharp weapons, and strange tattoos. Jared stood up, blaster ready. But they didn't attack. Instead, they looked at the girl, then at him, then they all knelt. He was confused. One of the elders, an old alien with glowing blue eyes, walked forward. He looked at Jared and spoke in a deep voice. "You saved the princess," the elder said. "Now you must marry her." Jared blinked, thinking he heard wrong. "What?" No, I just helped. That's it." The elder nodded slowly, but repeated the same line. "You saved the princess. You must marry her." The other alien stood up and began to sing something in their language. Jared didn't understand anything. 2 warriors came forward and lifted the girl gently, taking her away. Another one took Jared's blaster, but handed him a flower in return. "What is happening?" Jared whispered. They guided him to a village made of glowing stones and tall wooden towers. It was beautiful and strange. The villagers stared at him as he passed, some smiling, others bowing. Jared was given food, clothes, and a place to sleep, but his mind was full of questions. Who was the girl? Why did they say he had to marry her? Was he a hero or a prisoner? That night, he sat near a fire, thinking of Earth. His crew was gone, maybe dead. His ship was broken. And now he was stuck on a planet with people who thought he was a groom. Suddenly, the door to his small room opened. The girl, the princess, walked in. She wore a long robe, her silver hair shining in the firelight. She said nothing, just looked at him with calm eyes. Then she bowed, placed her hand on his chest, and whispered a word, "Nashala." Jared didn't know what it meant, but her voice was soft, almost kind. Then she turned and walked away. He sat there in silence, his heart beating fast. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but one thing was clear: he had saved a girl. And now, everything had changed. The wedding drums were already playing. And Jared didn't even know it was his own wedding. At sunrise, the village glowed in golden light. Aliens moved like dancers, decorating walls with floating lights and silver threads. Children threw flower petals in the air, laughing. Everywhere, people were preparing for something big. Jared woke up to the sound of soft singing outside his room. He stepped out, still half asleep, and saw a group of women painting the ground with glowing dust. An old man handed him a long red robe with golden edges. "What is this?" Jared asked. Confused, the old man smiled and placed the robe in Jared's hands. "You wear this," the man said. "She chose you." "She? Who chose me?" Jared replied, but the man had already walked away. Still confused, Jared looked for someone who spoke even a little English. He found a younger alien, a boy who had watched him curiously since the crash. "Why is everyone doing this? What is happening today?" Jared asked him. The boy smiled and replied, "It is your joining day. Jared froze. Joining day? What does that mean? You saved the princess, yes? The boy said, Our law is simple. Save her. Life, you become her mate. Jared stepped back. Shocked. I didn't know. I was just trying to help, he said. But now you are part of her path. The boy replied calmly. You are part of us. That word again, part of us. Jared didn't want to offend anyone, but he didn't. Agree to this. He needed to find Arlene the princess. Maybe she would understand. Maybe she could explain. He went to the high tower where she was kept. The guards didn't stop him. They simply bowed and let him pass. Inside, Arlene sat by a floating window, her eyes looking at the sky. She turned slowly as he entered and nodded. You walk strong today, she said in a soft voice, her English broken but clear. Arlene, Jared said, I need to talk. She waited silently. I didn't mean to break your law, he continued. I didn't know about the ... The custom. Arlene stood up, walked closer, and looked into his eyes. Our people follow the old ways, she said. Save a royal heart, and your lives must join. But I didn't save you for that, Jared said quickly. I saved you because it was right. She tilted her head slightly, a soft smile on her lips. That is why the law speaks, she replied. Jared stepped back, unsure what to say, before he could respond. Loud horns echoed across the sky. The villagers cheered. And fireworks exploded in the air, silent but bright. A group of elders entered the tower, bowing to Arlene. Then one of them handed Jared a small glowing cube. This is the choice stone, the elder said. You have until the third moonrise. If you accept, the elder continued, you become Prince of House Velen. If you decline, you return to the stars, but never return here. Jared held the cube in his hand. It felt warm, alive. The room was silent, waiting for his answer. But his mind was loud, full of noise. He looked at Arlene, who said nothing, just waited. Can I think? He asked, and they all nodded. Jared walked out alone. Needing air, he sat by the river, watching the sky turn from orange to purple. He was stuck between two worlds. Back on Earth, he was a pilot, a soldier, just another man. But here, he was something else, a symbol, a legend, a future king. Yet he didn't ask for any of it. Suddenly, he heard footsteps behind him. It was the boy again, holding a small wooden object. This is for you, the boy said. It is a memory flute. Jared took it, confused. When you play it, it speaks your heart, the boy said. Not with words, but with sound. The boy smiled and ran away, leaving Jared alone, holding the strange flute and the glowing cube. He looked at both, then at the stars. I didn't come here to fall in love, he whispered. But maybe I didn't come here by accident either. Asterisk, the stars above were not silent tonight. They whispered warnings only dreamers could hear. And Jared was no longer dreaming. He was running through the glowing forest, past trees that hummed with energy. Jared ran silently with one goal: escape. The cube in his pocket pulsed like a heartbeat, the choice stone that had marked him for marriage. But his choice was to leave, not stay. He wasn't ready for this alien destiny, this royal life, or a marriage he never asked for. Earlier that night, a quiet knock came at his door. It was Arlene, alone, with a hood over her head and sadness in her eyes. I will help you, she whispered. But you must never come back. Jared hesitated. Why are you doing this? She looked down, then said softly, because you are free, and I am not. No more words, only movement. She led him through the village's secret tunnels, silent halls carved into crystal stone. They passed sleeping guards and glowing statues of ancestors. Then a narrow exit opened into the jungle. This is as far as I can go, Arlene said. Follow the moon line, you will reach the crash hill. Jared paused. You don't want me to stay? She smiled gently. Wanting and needing are not the same. With that, she disappeared into the shadows. Now Jared ran, breathing heavy, trees whipping past his face. But something was wrong. The forest was too quiet. No wind, no animals, no voices, and then he saw it. Movement up ahead, but not alien. A human shadow stepped from behind a tree, holding a weapon. "Jared Hales," the man said. "You're hard to find." Jared stopped cold. "Commander Rourke?" It was his old superior from Earthfleet, armored and alive. "We tracked your crash pod," Rourke said, "and we saw what you've been doing." Jared frowned. "I didn't do anything wrong." "You saved their royal blood," Rourke said. "And now you're their future king." "I never agreed to that," Jared replied. "But they think you did," Rourke said, stepping closer. "And now Earth Command wants you out." Jared stepped back. "So you came to rescue me?" Rourke smiled coldly. "No, I came to extract you, by force if needed." Before Jared could speak, 3 more soldiers appeared behind trees. Weapons ready, Jared's hands went up. "This is crazy. You're compromising human neutrality." Rourke said, "You're about to cause an interstellar problem. But maybe I'm about to fix one," Jared replied, his voice sharp suddenly. A flash of light burst between them. Smoke filled the air, and an arrow struck the ground near Rourke's foot. Alien warriors dropped from the trees. Silent, fast and deadly. They didn't attack Jared, only the soldiers. And leading them was a young alien with fire in his eyes, Arlene's brother. "Kale, you are not welcome here," Kale said, aiming his blade at Rourke. "We have no fight with you," Rourke replied, raising his hands. "But you try to steal our future," Kale said. "This man belongs to Velen now." "I belong to myself," Jared said loudly, stepping between them. Kale looked at him with both respect and challenge. "You saved my sister, Jared of Earth," Kale said. "But if you run now, you dishonor her. I didn't ask for this." Jared said, "I didn't even understand it." Kale's voice grew harder. "She knows that. And still she helped you. She broke her oath." Jared felt a heavy weight on his chest. "You mean she risked her life helping me leave?" he asked. Kale nodded slowly. "The elders will punish her unless you return." Jared looked at Rourke, then at the forest path behind him, the weight of freedom. His mind was at war, duty or freedom, heart or history. Rourke stepped forward. "Come with us, Jared. Leave this madness behind." Kale pointed his sword. "Stay and protect the one who trusted you with her future." Jared closed his eyes, the cube in his pocket still glowing. He had to decide, and he had to do it now. Cliffhanger. As he opened his mouth to speak, a deafening roar shook the sky. A ship, massive and black, descending through the clouds. But it wasn't human. And it wasn't friendly. The sky was bleeding. Fire. The enemy ship broke through the clouds like a falling god, black and angry. Its engine screamed like thunder, shaking the trees and sending birds flying in fear. Jared stood frozen between 2 worlds, Earth soldiers on one side, alien warriors on the other, and above them, a ship none of them recognized. "What is that?" Rourke shouted, raising his weapon. Kale narrowed his eyes. "That is not ours." Jared stared at the symbols glowing on the ship's side, twisted, sharp and violent. Then the ship fired. A bolt of energy struck the forest edge, throwing dirt and fire into the air. Everyone scattered, diving for cover. Jared rolled behind a fallen tree, heart racing. "This isn't part of the plan," he whispered. Kale appeared beside him, scratched but alive. "That is a war signal," he said. "We are under attack." Rourke's team returned fire, but their weapons did nothing to the dark hull. "This ship isn't from this planet," Jared said. "It's from somewhere else." Suddenly, a voice echoed through the air, not in sound, but inside their minds, a cold whisper. "Give us the girl, or we take the planet." Jared's blood went cold. "Arlene," he turned to Kale. "Where is she right now?" "In the temple," Kale replied, eyes wide. "She is in danger." Jared didn't wait. He ran. Branches slapped his face as he moved through the jungle paths. Behind him, the enemy ship dropped dark shapes, soldiers in armor. Tall and sharp like blades, they moved without sound, hunting. When Jared reached the village, it was already under attack. Homes burned with blue flames. People ran screaming. Warriors fought with glowing staffs. He pushed through the chaos, heading toward the crystal temple at the center. Inside, he found Arlene kneeling, her hands glowing with white energy. She was protecting the ancient gate, a portal only her blood could open. "Arlene, we have to go," Jared said, grabbing her arm. She looked up, tired but focused. "I can't, this seal holds them back." "They're already here," Jared said. "They want you." She shook her head. "They want what I guard." Then the wall exploded. A dark figure stepped in, armor black as night, eyes red like fire. He was not a man, not fully, but something. "Built for war. Step aside," the figure said to Jared. "She is not your kind." Jared raised his fists anyway. "Maybe not, but she's under my protection." The creature laughed. "You are just a lost human. This is not your war," Jared replied. "Then you don't know humans." He attacked, not because he could win, but because he had to try. The fight was short, brutal, and loud. Jared was thrown back, bleeding. But he bought Arlene time. She reached into her robe and pulled out a small crystal blade. With a scream, she drove it into the enemy's chest. Light exploded, and the figure vanished in a burst of smoke. Jared coughed and smiled weakly. "Okay, that worked." Arlene knelt beside him. "Why did you come back?" "I couldn't leave you," he said. "Not like that." She placed a hand on his face, her eyes soft. "Then our bond is real." Before he could answer, Kale and his warriors rushed in, securing the temple. Rourke followed moments later, looking around in shock. "What just happened?" he asked. Jared stood slowly. "We were attacked by something older than both our worlds. They want whatever power this planet hides." Rourke looked at Arlene, then at Jared. "We need to talk. Earth Command is not going to like this," Jared replied. "Too late, I already picked a side." Outside, the enemy ship was leaving, for now, but the sky didn't feel safe anymore. As Jared walked out of the temple, something buzzed inside his neck. He reached up and felt it. A small bump under the skin. "What the?" he whispered. He dug into it with his knife, just enough to pull out a small metal chip. Kale looked at it, then at Jared. "That's a tracker." Jared stared at it, horrified. "That was inside me the whole time." Arlene's face turned pale. "That means they knew where you were." Kale's voice was full of fire. "Which means someone from your own crew led them here." Jared's fists tightened, his voice low. "There's a traitor, and I'm going to find out who it is." Asterisk. The truth was hidden beneath his skin. Jared stared at the small silver chip in his hand, still wet with his blood. It had been inside him since the crash, tracking his every move. Not a gift from the aliens, but from someone he once trusted, someone human. He felt sick. "I was never lost," he whispered. "I was bait." Rourke stood nearby, arms crossed, no surprise on his face. "We had to track you," he said coldly. "We needed to know if you were compromised." "Compromised?" Jared snapped. "I saved a life. I stopped an invasion. I risked everything." "And broke protocol," Rourke replied. "You weren't sent here to be a hero." "Jared," Kale stepped forward, sword still in hand. "You watched our world burn and said nothing." Rourke didn't flinch. "Not my world." Arlene walked between them, calm but fierce, her voice steady. "Then you are the problem." She turned to Jared, eyes full of pain and strength. "We need to speak alone." They walked to the old sky garden, a high platform of floating stones that looked over the jungle. The stars above seemed closer here, as if they were listening. Arlene sat first, her hands in her lap. "You said you didn't know our law." Jared sat beside her. "I didn't. But now you do," she said. "And still, you stayed." He looked at her carefully. "You helped me escape, even when it risked your life. Why?" Arlene looked away, her voice barely a whisper. "Because you are different. Jared, you don't want power, and that makes you worthy of it." He laughed sadly. "I didn't come here to become anyone's prince." "No," she said. "But you became something better, a protector." Silence stretched between them, deep and heavy. Jared pulled out the glowing cube, the choice stone. "It's funny," he said. "This thing was meant to force a decision, but now I want to choose without it." Arlene reached for his hand, touching it softly. "Then don't choose. For the law. Choose for your heart." Before he could answer, Cale appeared, running, his face pale. "You must come now, both of you," he said. "There's been a message." They rushed back to the command tent where Rourke's communicator floated in midair. Replaying a transmission, a new voice spoke, deep and sharp. "We offer one deal. Surrender the royal girl, or we burn your forests, your sky, and your stars. We are already inside," the voice continued. "Your shields are blind to us." Jared felt cold all over. "They're already here," Cale nodded. "Yes, but how?" Arlene looked at Rourke. "Because someone sent a signal." All eyes turned to the soldiers, silent and tense. Jared stepped forward, looking each one in the eye. One man avoided his gaze. A tech specialist named Ven. Jared's eyes narrowed. "Ven, show me your arm." Ven didn't move. Ven suddenly turned and tried to run. Cale threw a spear that pinned Ven to a tree without killing him. They pulled him back, and under his sleeve was a matching chip, blinking red. "You sold us out," Jared said, his voice like ice. Ven spit on the ground. "You don't get it, Jared. Earth's survival depends on control, not romance with aliens," Cale growled, but Jared stopped him. "No," Jared said. "He's not worth it." He turned to Arlene. "We need to stop the enemy before they strike again. Do you have anything? Old tech? Hidden weapons? Anything ancient?" Arlene hesitated, then nodded. "There is one thing, but it was sealed long ago." "Why?" Jared asked. "Because it doesn't just destroy enemies," she said slowly. "It also destroys hope," Cale added. "It's called the Sky Trial. Only one who is truly worthy can control it. And if they're not?" Jared asked. "They vanish," Cale said. "Burned out by the power." Arlene looked at Jared, her voice trembling. "Do not do this unless your heart is truly clear." Jared looked at the village below, the wounded, the burning trees, the sky turning darker. Then he looked at Arlene. "If I don't try, we all lose." Cliffhanger. He stepped into the ancient vault, and the doors slammed shut behind him, glowing with strange symbols that no one had seen in 1,000 years. The vault did not open with keys, it opened with pain. The moment Jared stepped inside, the air turned heavy, lights circled him, whispering in alien tongues. The ground below his feet pulsed with memory. He was no longer just in a room, he was inside. The mind of a weapon, floating images surrounded him, memories from centuries ago. Wars, kings, blood, fire, and silence. In the center of the chamber stood the trial stone, a dark crystal, humming with quiet thunder. A voice echoed in his head. Not male or female, just ancient. "Do you seek power?" Jared closed his eyes, breathing slowly. "No," he whispered. "I seek balance." The crystal flashed white, testing his words. A beam of light shot into his chest, lifting him off the ground. His body shook, not from pain, but from truth. Every choice, every memory, every doubt inside him was being weighed. Outside the vault, Cale stood guard. Arlene prayed silently, and Rourke watched with doubt. "If he survives this," Cale said, "he will not be the same." "He already isn't," Arlene replied. "He chose us when he didn't have to." Suddenly, the vault cracked open, and Jared stepped out. His eyes glowed faintly, and on his arm, a mark had formed, a symbol of the ancient protectors. He walked without fear now. "We fight today," he said, "but not just with weapons. We fight with purpose." Cale smiled. "Then let's give the stars something to remember." At sunset, the enemy returned. Dark ships blocked out the sun, casting a shadow over the village. They landed in silence, releasing an army of black-armored warriors with red eyes. But this time, Velen was ready. Jared stood at the front, wearing armor gifted by the elders. Half metal, half living stone. Beside him, Cale held a plasma spear. Arlene held the ancient staff of her bloodline. The people had chosen not to run, but to stand. The first wave came fast. The enemy soldiers attacked with sharp weapons and zero fear. Jared moved through them like fire, blocking, striking, protecting. Kale's warriors fought with fury, their battle cries shaking the air. But the enemy had something new, shadow drones that floated above and fired black beams. Jared raised his marked arm, and to everyone's shock, the beams bent away from him. The trial stone's power was real. Arlene channeled light through her staff, creating shields that protected the villagers. But for every enemy they stopped. More came. Then the sky cracked again. A second ship arrived. Larger than the first, the command vessel of the invaders. From its core, a new enemy emerged, tall and crowned with twisted metal. He was called Veil Rax, the warlord of silence. He didn't speak with words, only with force. He landed with a wave of dark energy that threw half the battlefield into the air. Jared stood up slowly, wiping blood from his lip. "This one's mine," he said. The others tried to stop him, but it was already too late. Jared ran forward, blade in one hand, marked arm raised. Veil Rax moved with unnatural speed, meeting Jared's strikes with crushing power. They fought between broken towers and burning trees. Each hit from Veil Rax nearly shattered Jared's bones, but Jared kept standing. Every time he fell, he rose again. Not because he was stronger, but because he refused to give up. Then, in one final move, Jared let go of fear. He pressed his marked hand to Veil Rax's chest and whispered, "This ends now." Light exploded, throwing them both apart. Veil Rax screamed for the first time, not in pain, but in defeat. His body cracked, turned to ash and vanished. The battlefield grew silent. The enemy soldiers stopped, confused, and then began to retreat. Cheers rose across Velen. Kale raised his sword. "The Protector has spoken." Arlene rushed to Jared, helping him to his feet. "You risked your life again," she said. He smiled weakly. "You're starting to make it a habit." She laughed, tears in her eyes. "You changed our fate." Jared looked at the stars above, now clear again, but deep in his mind, a whisper remained, soft warning. "Peace is not the end." It said, "It is the pause before the next trial." The stars were quiet again. But silence does not always mean peace. In the heart of Villain, fires were no longer burning homes, but lighting celebrations. Children laughed, elders sang, and warriors danced with joy in their scars. Jared stood on the high tower, watching it all. He should have felt like a hero. But deep inside, a question still echoed. Now what? Behind him, Arlene stepped forward, her dress shimmering like moonlight. "Why are you not celebrating?" she asked gently. Jared smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Because I feel like something's unfinished," he said. "Like I didn't close a door I was supposed to." Arlene nodded slowly. "Because the choice has not been made yet." Jared turned to her, confused. "I thought I already chose," he said. "I stayed, I fought, I saved this world." "But you never chose for yourself," Arlene whispered. "You chose for everyone else." She walked away, giving him space. Moments later, Kale arrived with a message stone in his hand. "This came from orbit," he said, voice tense. Jared tapped the stone, and a hologram appeared. "It was from Earth Command, Jared Hales," the voice said. "You are hereby invited back to Earth under full pardon. You are no longer under threat of court-martial. You are welcome home." Home, the word hit Jared like a wave. He had not heard it in so long. He looked up at the twin moons of Velen, glowing over the hills, then down at the people below who now saw him as more than human. A protector, a symbol, a bridge. Kale looked at him. "Will you go back?" "I don't know," Jared said honestly. "I never thought I'd have two homes." He walked alone for a while, past the gardens, the towers, the place where he first met Arlene. Every stone held a memory now, and then, as if called by fate, he found her again, sitting beneath the dream tree. "Do you want me to stay?" he asked, not as a warrior, but as a man. Arlene looked at him, her eyes soft. "I want you to choose what gives you peace," she said. Not what gives me joy. Jared sat beside her, silent, then spoke. You changed me, he said, not with laws or legends, but with truth. She touched his hand. Then your heart already knows the answer. That night, Jared stood between two paths. One led to the launch pad, where a ship waited to take him back to Earth. The other led to the temple, where the people of Velen gathered to honor their new protector. The stars above gave no sign. He took one deep breath and made his choice. But just as he stepped forward, the sky cracked open again. A new signal echoed across the planet, louder than any before. Every communicator, every device, every mind heard the same sentence. We see what you did. We are coming. The signal was not from Earth, not from Velen. It came from beyond. The edge of known space. Jared looked up, eyes wide, heart racing again. The war was not the end. It was just the beginning. Erlene stood beside him, calm but ready. Kale appeared, sword in hand. Rook joined them too. Nodding without a word, enemies had turned to allies, strangers had become family, and the one who came to this planet by accident now stood as its first line of defense. Jared Hales was no longer just human. He was Velene's voice, Earth's hand, and the universe's next answer.